Okay, hey, hi, everybody. Sorry we started a little bit late, but we are now here. I, David Greaves, the chair of the Board of Psychology, call this board meeting to order at 1 p.m. on Friday, July 10th, 2026 at the board's office in Salem, Oregon, and via Zoom video conference. I will now call roll. Amanda Chiappa.
Present.
Renee Diaz del Rio.
Here.
Daniel Guilfoyle.
Here.
Catherine Miller.
Here.
And Kylie Miller is out of the country. She's our new psychologist. So we got two Millers. We'll have to figure that one out. Teresa Morris.
Here.
And Libby Rapka.
Here.
And Dave Greaves, I am here as well. I forgot, I think I was starting to read the wrong one, but this is the public session, just for your record. Members of the public are instructed to refrain from making comments during this meeting unless invited to do so. Those on Zoom, please remain muted unless speaking. Zoom attendees who disrupt the meeting may have their microphones muted, the cameras turned off, or they may be removed from the meeting, as may in-person attendees who disrupt the meeting. We are now in public session. Well, thank you all for being here. And we've done our roll call, but I wanted to take a little time to, for the public record, introduce some new board members and get a chance to meet them, and then we'll introduce ourselves as well to you. So let's start with Daniel, if you would do that first.
Sure. This is Daniel Guilfoyle. I'm currently the Director of Youth and Education Services at NAIA, and I've lived in Portland for about 20 years, from Western New York originally.
Hi, I'm Teresa Morris. I live here in Salem. My background is in HR at the Willamette Education Service District. Glad to be here.
Great. It's so great to have public members back on the board. Yeah, waiting too long.
Yeah.
Let's go around the room and just get quick introductions of others involved. And Dan, I'm just going to keep moving around the circle here. First up.
Oh, okay. Just like I said before.
Yeah.
I'm originally from New Jersey. New York is cool too. I love it. Spent 30 years at San Diego PD, came up here, tried to be retired, couldn't stand it, got a job here 8 years ago, and been happy ever since.
Great. Dan's one of our investigators.
And I'm Libby Rapka. I'm a psychologist based out of Portland. I have a juvenile forensic private practice.
I'm Amanda Chiappa, she, her pronouns. I'm a clinical psychologist. I work at Oregon Health Science University, and I focus on health psychology.
I'm Kathy Miller. I'm one of the psychology members, and I teach at Pacific University.
I'm Rachel Bertoni. I'm an assistant attorney general assigned to support the board. I work for DOJ, and I am from New York State, Brooklyn.
And I'm Dave Greaves. I chair the board right now. Recently retired from working in the VA healthcare system and at OHSU. And I grew up right here in Salem. That's where I am from originally.
Greetings, I'm Todd Youngkin. I'm the Executive Director for the Mental Health Regulatory Agency, and we are the umbrella agency that oversees both this board and the Board of Licensed Professional Counselors and Therapists.
Great.
This is Michael Vile, and I'm Compliance Specialist for the board, originally from California. I'm a transplant. Happy to be here.
Great. And on the screen, we've got Laurie.
I'm Laurie Stashik. I'm the MHRA Policy Advisor.
Thank you, Laurie. And then Renee.
I'm Renee Diaz del Rio. I'm a psychologist in private practice in Bend. Originally from California, came to Oregon by way of the East Coast. And I'm excited to have some public members back on the board.
Agreed. And there's one more board square up there. I don't know if that's somebody from the public. I think that's the public visitor. Right? You don't have to introduce yourself. Okay. I think we can move on to any other announcements that we have. We announced the new members of the board. I think that was the one thing I wanted to do today. If not, let's move on to our action items. And first up is approval of meeting minutes. And I should note that we will not be reviewing the minutes or approving the minutes from the May 8th meeting. We want to do a few more edits on that before we get to that. But we did have the public session meeting, and those minutes from May 8th. Any questions or concerns about those? Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I so move, Amanda.
Thank you. And is there a second?
This is Libby, I second.
Okay, those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye. Any opposed? Or any abstentions?
I wasn't here, so I will
You
abstain.
abstain,
So
and
Kathy.
abstain. Okay, great, thank you.
And Teresa, you're abstaining too.
Yes. Yeah, by the way, at this part of the public meeting, if you like move or second, say your name, just for the record, and it's a recording. That helps too. Okay, great. Let's move on to our consumer protection. We'll start with compliance cases.
Alrighty. We have case number 2025-011, looking for a motion to issue a notice seeking to revoke licensee's license and impose maximum allowable costs.
Is there a motion for that?
I'll move. This is Kathy.
Okay, and second?
I'll second. This is Daniel.
Okay, thank you. And I'm gonna do a roll call vote on this, is that right?
Yes, please.
Okay, Amanda,
Aye.
Renee,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
Kathy,
Aye.
Teresa,
I,
Libby,
I,
and Dave votes aye as well. Are there any, I think that's everybody, so don't have to worry about abstentions or anything else. Okay,
Now we have case number 2025-015, looking for a motion to dismiss.
This is Amanda. I so move.
thank you.
this is Libby, I second.
Okay, so moved and seconded that we dismiss this case. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Or any abstentions? Great, thank you.
Next up, we have case number 2025-006, looking for a motion to issue a notice proposing a civil penalty of $30,000 and impose maximum allowable costs.
This is Libby, I move.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
I second Teresa.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. And I'm gonna do a roll call on this one again. Let's start with Kathy,
I abstain.
okay? Daniel,
Aye.
Renee,
Aye.
Amanda,
Aye.
and Teresa,
I,
Libby,
I,
and Dave votes aye as well. Okay,
Alrighty. Next up is case number 2025-056, looking for a motion to dismiss.
their motion. I'll move that we dismiss that. Is there a second?
this is Libby, I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to dismiss that case. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Or any abstentions?
This is Kathy. I abstain.
One abstention. Okay, thank you very much. Okay,
Alrighty, case number 2026-013, looking for a motion to withdraw the notice issued on May 18th, 2026 and dismiss the case.
okay. Is there a motion for that?
This is Amanda. I so move.
Okay, in a second.
This is
This
Renee.
is Daniel.
We'll give it to Daniel. Okay, and this one I can do a voice vote, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay, we have case number 2024-043, looking for a motion to issue the amended proposed order as presented, proposing revocation and costs in the amount of $9,424.05.
Okay,
This is Kathy. I'll move.
thank you.
Libby, I second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. And I'm gonna do a voice, I'm sorry, I'll do a roll call vote on this one too. Let's start with Renee
Aye.
and Daniel,
Aye.
Kathy,
Aye.
and Teresa,
I,
Libby,
I,
and let's see, Amanda, didn't get you,
Aye.
and Dave votes aye, and I think that's everybody. Okay,
And lastly, we have case number 2025-001, looking for a motion to dismiss this case.
this is
This is from the consent agenda.
Yeah.
This is Kathy, I'll move.
Okay, it's been moved to dismiss.
This Lydia second.
Moved and seconded to dismiss. Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, very good. Thank you.
Is there been a motion for the extensions?
Yeah, there typically is, right?
Okay, so we're also looking for a motion to extend 84 cases
As listed.
as listed.
As listed. I'll move to approve those extensions. For a second?
I will second Amanda.
Okay. And we can just do a voice vote on this one, I'm assuming. Those are okay, or want to approve these extensions, vote aye, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
We have one more item too. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, okay.
So we have license number 2441, this is the CE looking for a motion to issue a default order, including a license suspension, $1,500 civil penalty, and require licensee to submit 40 credits of CE within 30 days.
Okay,
Did you finish the vote on the first side, on the dismissals? Did we have a universal?
on the extensions,
Yeah, the extensions, yeah.
yes, actually, what I didn't ask was if anyone abstained. And I don't think anyone did.
Okay,
So that one we got.
all right,
So
perfect.
thank you for doing that, but yeah, we're back to the one, and this was
License
license
24.
number 2441.
I have to read that again.
Yeah, just one more time.
Okay. Looking for a motion to issue a default order, including license suspension, a $1,500 civil penalty, and requirement to submit 40 credits of CE within 30 days.
Okay, we have a motion for that.
This is Kathy, I'll move.
Okay, so moved.
I second
Teresa
Teresa.
seconds it. Okay, I'm gonna do a roll call on this one. Let's start with Libby.
Aye.
And Amanda,
Aye.
Kathy,
Aye.
and Teresa,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
Renee,
Aye.
and Dave votes aye. And I think that's everybody. Okay, is that it for?
I believe that's it.
Yep.
Was that, yeah, that's it, okay. Also, you see on the agenda is the approval of licenses, so these are individuals who have been licensed, we are ratifying that, these approvals, they are already theoretically up and running. Can I have a motion to approve these licensees?
This is Libby, I so move.
Thank you,
Daniel, a second.
thank you, it's moved and seconded, those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Or any abstentions on that one? Okay. We're moving on to the public forum. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board. Board members will not respond to public comments in this venue. Comments must be related to matters within the board's purview. The board cannot accept comments on investigations, contested case matters, individual applications, or petition matters, or rulemaking after the statutory comment period has ended. Public comments will be limited to up to 3 minutes. However, if there are multiple public commenters, the board chair may reduce the time allotted to each commenter. Now, as I'm looking at the screen, I don't think we have any guests with us today. We had a person, but they are not on the call anymore.
That's correct.
Okay, so if everyone feels like it's okay for me to proceed, we will move on from the public forum section. We're going to move on now to the informational items, and I'm going to turn it over to Todd for Executive Director's report.
Mr. Chair, thank you. The first item will be, and this is located at page 17 of your public session packet, the budget report. Right now, as usual, this board is still doing well. You've got close to 15 months worth of working capital. Now, what will impact that moving forward? I think as some of you heard informally that this morning, we are projecting to turnover in our investigative staff. I'm going to be looking and seeing if we have room to bring on a backup for some overlap. So there will be, those will be unbudgeted expenditures. We only get budgeted expenditures for the FTE we have. So be looking to see if we can afford that while we bring somebody on to learn from the current investigator before moving on. Other things that will impact, we have session coming up in 2027. We're currently building that budget. There will be increased statewide costs that we will be asking for increased budget authority for. That will impact your cash flow. The most significant item and one of the things we are requesting is 2 additional FTE. One will be an additional investigator for sure needed over on our BLPCT side. The other will be an additional position to be determined. But I think as you all will see, the MHRA policy advisor has a lot on their plate. And at some point, we're going to need to create additional capacity to enable us to even continue, not just operationally, but to continue to do other projects like rulemaking. We've got that. And then we have our efforts to get a new database. The RFP has been released by the state. It's out there. We verified it is on Oregon Buys. The bid opening date will occur the first week of August. And from there, what will happen is MHRA has asked to be part of the evaluation team. The state hopes to pull maybe up to 3 different licensing system vendors. They're kind of looking at a spectrum of low cost, mid-tier cost, higher cost. And along with that will come low capabilities, mid-tier, and higher capabilities. Depending on the timelines, I think they're still looking at sometime this fall, those being announced and placed on a statewide price agreement, which means then for MHRA to move into a new system, we issue what's called a request for information, or we issue I think that's how the process goes. Initially, what we will do is reach out to those vendors that we choose and say, here's our requirements, what would you propose? i.e., here's your chance to give us a bid. And from there, we would make a decision. And then why it's beneficial that the state went through this RFP process is because then we don't have to do an RFP, we just execute a work order. The state will have already done the procurement and put them on a price agreement where they say, generally, here's how we charge. Most of them charge like a la carte. This is your bare bones, and then if you want to do this report, if you want to add a report, cost that. So then at that point, we just execute a work order. Ultimately, it's possible that we can have a new system in place by 2027. However, we also need the budget authority to do that. And based on timing, we may not know cost or timelines enough to get this in on the 27 budget request. So then we're reliant on the state to help us find an alternative avenue. Worst case scenario they would say you wait till 2029, which would mean then we're waiting until 2029 in that budget session. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing, but give you a good idea just of kind of where we're at and why I can't make great promises yet on that. Projects we're working on, this board has and Loree will be touching on it, but we're working on the Rules Advisory Committee for the Senate Bill 1547, bachelor's level behavioral health and wellness specialist. Board Stat Advisory Committee is doing some really good work. Got a good group of folks, some good robust discussion. We have been tasked by the governor's office to put together a work plan for some of the items from the Behavioral Health Talent Council. One of those items is a request from the Behavioral Health Talent Council for boards to consider alternatives to passage of an exam. So we have put up the work order. I did verify there is no predetermined outcome. The board is going to have the full capability to research the issue and then make a decision on if they have if there's any desire in there. The work plan we've put together relies on board meetings to set our timelines. Likely that won't come before this board until your next meeting because the work plans themselves haven't been approved by the governor's office. But we would rely on the full board meetings and likely probably ask that it be assigned like to the DEI / education committee. Part of what I want to do, this comes up a lot. And regardless of how the board feels about it, I'd like whatever the work the board does then to kind of stand for a while. If the board researches and says, we're not going to, or we're going to implement part or anything like that, want to put out more than just the board saying, no, we took a look, not interested, because it comes up very, very often. And I'm happy to answer more questions about that, or
Okay.
if anybody has, something you want to ask me offline, I can answer more on the process. I think that's it for my updates. And at that, then I turn it back over to Loree, I think, who will take you through some rulemaking.
Great. Any other questions for Todd? If not, Loree, you want to talk to us a little bit about this continuing ed? I know there's a draft that's in our agenda.
I mean, so this is more of an FYI to let you know what's coming. So the Education and DEI Committee has been working on some updates to the Chapter 858, Division 40, which is the CE, continuing education requirements. So it's basically a lot of clarifications. We're adding new definitions, sort of clarifying what counts, like how we're documenting it. And there is a piece in there about the new behavioral health and wellness practitioner, the bachelor's level license, which that's going to go before the Rules Advisory Committee. They actually just met earlier this week and did not get to the CE components, but talked about a lot of other things that are an important part of those rules. But we will get to this and determine sort of how much CE, what types of categorical requirements they'll be required to complete, and things like that. So if there's any questions, there's no action on this today. What's going to happen is we're going to bring a whole package of rules together in September, and then the board's going to vote on that, review it, and then determine to put it out for public comment. And then November would be the date that the board will review all of the public comments and then possibly vote to approve that big package.
So I have a question about this. Like, when is a good time to, it sounds like maybe September, to further discuss the, like if we have dissenting opinions of what's proposed?
I think, is that fair? Our September meeting?
Are we talking about for this rule division or just the overall behavioral health and wellness practitioner rule package?
The CE specific to Oregon and the changes.
Yeah, like the stuff, like, for example, look at the first page, the language has changed from 40 continuing ed credits during the period to 24 months now.
Down below it says 40. They just moved it down, but I think retained 40. But I actually would probably want to talk further about 40.
Okay, so that's, I guess it's this document here that people may be wanting to know if this is the time to talk about it, or if we should wait till September.
I mean, I would say if you're talking about psychologist specific requirements, it would be a good time because I'm going to be presenting a huge package at that time, and it's going to be mostly focused on the behavioral health and wellness practitioners.
Okay. One moment, I'm just saving something related to this because I thought I would share it.
And I can explain some more. So a lot of the rules are going to be like keeping the two professions separate, but where CE is involved, we're actually proposing to combine them into one rule. And that required me to sort of move stuff around to make the flow a little bit easier to understand. So some things might look like they're more substantive changes when they're actually just rearranged a little bit. And I tried to put just kind of some explanation in there. But for example, I'm deleting pieces about person submits their renewal notice and the CE is part of it. Well, those are already in the renewal rules. So having it here again in the CE requirements is redundant. We're trying to get rid of some of that, extra language redundancy.
Right. What was your question about 40, Amanda? 40 hours?
And keeping in mind that this is because I'd been more familiar with East Coast, specifically Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, where I hold licenses, and that those are lower number of credits or CE requirements than here. I'm seeing an independent study on APA that I just looked up right now that highlights like the different states credits in year and deadline, which is helpful to get a sense of how this. And I remember the last public session, there had been talk about like somebody maybe I think said 40. I mean half. It seems like have a similar thing. So I just curious because Oregon is ranked 49 now, was 2 years ago, like ranked 50 in pediatric mental health. And we're always thinking about how can we increase access to mental health care and CE. And then I'm thinking of like, so I don't know that I would say CEUs translates to better psychologists based on what we have here, which is knowing that it's 40 CEUs for 2 years, and yet we're not doing so hot in that ranking system. So I wondered if there was room to consider even 30 for a 2-year period versus 40. I'm going to share a few that have the range so that it's not just the bias that I know. I'm going to start, however, so Connecticut is 10 credits for 1 year. Massachusetts is 20 for 2 year. New York, I believe, let's see, is it 36 for 3? Let's see. New York.
So that list is on page 29 of your public session packets, if anybody else was.
36 for 3. Thank you, Louis. And we see if we think about what are the states that border Oregon, California is 36 for 2 years. Where are you, Idaho? 30 for 2 years. Where's Washington State? Just in terms of maybe more regional comparison, 60 for 3, which is comparable to us now. So I guess I'm thinking if there's variability, but I see quite a bit of 20 for 2, and I wouldn't want to reduce CEU so much. And I acknowledge that we have 4 requirements for cultural competency. Different states have different allocations, right? Allotments of what they prioritize as you need this specific training. New York, I think, has a mandate for professional boundaries, and a specific type of mandated recorder training is their requirement. So we could get into the weeds of of that, but I would love to ask. I just wanted to get a feeler because I can say that we are very low ranked, and how could we recruit and access? That's it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, like you see, that may or may not, translate to higher recruitment. I would love Dr. Miller, the new Dr. Miller, to be here too. She's licensed in dozens of states.
Right.
And I think has some really personal perspective on, and I can't speak for her, but I know she's felt like Oregon's got a pretty low bar already.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to her.
And it would be neat to have her perspective. I think this is something that's worth talking about as a group. And it may be that we can come back to this. But I think that's a perfect thing that we could talk about, maybe if it's okay.
Yeah.
To come back in September and discuss that. Because
is it okay, Lori?
Yeah, I can put this back. I mean, this will be on the whole package will be on the agenda, but I can put specifically this too, so that flags it. Yeah, I mean, I also included a graphic on page 30 that shows the rise in compliance cases. I feel like that's very relevant to this discussion. We've had a average 160% overall growth in complaints, which is an average of 25% a year, when there's only been a 3.6% average licensee growth. So I get a little bit nervous when we start talking about reducing standards.
Well, and do we know where those come from the most? Because I'm thinking about how New York has a very clear mandated expectation for professional boundaries as a required competency. So I'm just wondering, is there a commonality amongst that drastic increase in complaints to target what kind of training would be helpful rather than more?
Yeah, I mean, so there's certain state requirements that this board can't, change. Cultural competency, there's suicide risk, there's pain management.
We do not, at this point I could answer, we do not have the data that would clearly show what type of training is needed to avoid the increase in complaints. This board is seeing an increase now. It apparently lagged behind the other board by about 2 years, but now we're starting to see by this summer an increase in year over year that is significantly higher than the increase in licensee base.
And that's correct. Can you, is that across psychology and counseling or
No,
just us?
counseling is running at a 40% increase year over year in complaints with only a 10% increase in licensee base. This board, as of this summer, is trending not quite there, and now the number escapes me. I want to say it's between 20 and 40, but again, with a
Right.
licensee base of 3%, it's following the trend.
I cannot imagine, but yeah, please, sorry, Lori.
Oh, I was just gonna say, the average will be 25% if we keep on track with this year. So what I did in that chart there was I just took what we had as of June 30th and doubled it, assuming we'd get the same amount of complaints in the second half of the year, which whether that happens or not, it's still a lot higher than usual.
Okay.
I think it's not the most scientific approach to say that more frequency or greater frequency would impact that rate. I think without knowing what if there are commonalities in complaints. I say that because if we think about like how we know that mental health workers tend to be overburdened, right? Like there's higher rates of burnout, which is part of the problem of retaining quality mental health professionals. And that like this part is an assumption, but I'm thinking a lot of CEUs may not be the thing that makes them better. Right, more work to do that you have to make time for. So I'm all for CEUs, I'm all for training, and I would love robust, recruitment retention. I'm just looking at the chart and thinking we're 49th, and we were 50th. I guess I'm just thinking if there's some things here to further flesh out.
Yeah.
I would be open. I'd just be curious how other people feel.
Yeah, other thoughts on this? Because there's really two issues here that I'm seeing. One is the issue you're bringing up about our ability to provide care when we're doing poorly as a state.
Well, which is, I think, linked to this. Yeah.
And the other issue is that we've got a growth in people not performing well.
Yeah.
And they may, I don't know if they're linked.
More technically, you have a growth in complaints,
Thank
which
you.
may mean that the public
Thank
is just
you.
better informed about complaining options.
That could be too. But we're hearing more
I see
about
what you're saying.
concerns. We're definitely hearing that's, so that,
Right.
and I don't know if there's a single thing that fixes both of those. I don't know. So, but I'm not opposed to revisiting this. in
I'd love
September.
Dr. Miller to
Yeah, it'd be
here.
great to have her kind of chime in as well. Okay, any other questions about what Loree presented here? And thank you to the Education DEI group who's been helping with this. Okay, we're gonna move, we're not gonna break right now because we just got going. So I want to move on to item number 3 under informational. This is the ASPPB. And see if I can do this for our new people. Association for State and Provincial Psychology Boards. That's what that stands for, because it's US and Canada.
Nicely done.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
So this is the group that basically advises and supports boards. They're also the group that puts together the national exam for psychologists called the EPPP, which strikes fear in the hearts of graduate students. So that's kind of their cash cow, I will say. That's okay, we all have them. You know, APA's, American Psychological's cash cow is the publication manual. They actually make a lot of money on that. You know what the American Psychiatric Association's cash cow is?
DSM.
DSM, yeah, we all got them. So anyway, but that's ASPPB it's the EPPP. That's how they get a lot of their money. But they have annual meetings. They actually have semi-annual meetings too. So twice a year they get together. And there's a meeting in October in Reno. I did mention to Todd that I'm interested in attending that and willing to do that for the board. We try to have somebody go, and it doesn't have to be just one. But is this something where people could reach out to you directly if they have interest?
Yep, and we've got that on the agenda.
Yeah, well, that's where we're at right now.
Oh, okay. Yep, one of the things that they had asked for is, so yes, folks can reach out directly to me. Let me answer that question first. And also, they are soliciting jurisdictions to participate in a session on discipline complaints and the processes different jurisdictions use. So as folks, and we have already heard from Dave, he's interested. If anybody else is interested, also let me know if you'd be interested in participating in that session as one of the jurisdictions.
All right.
I would say timing wise, I don't have right here, and Larry jump in if you've got that information for a deadline, but I would ask maybe within the next 2 weeks that you could let me know if you're interested.
I saw some early August.
August
deadline.
15th.
August 15th, and that's just the deadline. So they actually are just beginning to provide this financial assistance. So they help with the meeting registration, hotel, and flight, which is a pretty
That's
good
great.
deal
It's
for one delegate voting member to go. So the board would cover any additional members that went.
Yeah, and if somebody else wants to go, you can go. Let us know.
In October?
And there's the Clear conference too. That's another thing that's here in town.
Yeah, it's not on the agenda, so I wasn't sure if I was allowed to ask about that, the clear. But yeah, I think, no, I don't. I'd rather do that.
Yeah.
If you want, after we're done talking about ASPPB, let's go back to executive director's update, because I could add to that.
Okay. All right. So I think that's good on the ASPPB meeting. And new members too, that's something that at some point it would be great if you can make the time to go to one of these conferences. I think it'd be really educational. You're welcome to do that. So
Yeah,
if I can go back,
ASPPB has a new board member train that they put on every time as one of their like breakout sections. So that's helpful for new board members.
yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the executive director's report. Let us know about the Clear.
So one of the things I forgot there, I sent out an email. We are deadline for early bird registrations Monday. So a couple of members still have that email. I need a response from if you're interested. And then I just wanted to catch that while folks are here, and then I'd circle back to whatever question.
Yeah, I think I can probably talk offline. I just had nosy logistical questions.
Okay, yeah, let's just
Not about-
connect with me
yeah.
right after the
Okay.
meeting then. Thank you.
Great. Okay, next informational item we have is AI in therapy. And you may recall that our former colleague, Dr. Goy, was one who really talked a lot about this one and had interest in this. And I don't know if there was an article this time.
So this time Rachel brought up Senate Bill 1546 at the last meeting, and so we put it in the packet for this time to review. It's just about, so this is a bill Oregon passed that becomes effective January 1st, 2027. So it regulates the operators of AI companions, requires them to provide clear user disclosures and to detect and interrupt conversations involving self-harm or suicidal ideation, and provide users with crisis resource referrals. And it prohibits platforms from using techniques meant to create emotional dependency, stimulating romantic interest, sending sexually explicit content, or serving addictive algorithms that maximize engagement. And it requires the operators to post annual reports to document the number of referrals that they've provided and their protocol for detecting suicidal or self-harm ideation.
So this has been passed by the Senate and House, and has the governor signed this too?
Yeah, it's yeah.
Okay,
Governor, if she hadn't signed it by now, it would have just gone into effect.
it just goes into effect. Okay.
And it's not anything that this board is enforcing. This is something that is enforced by private right of action, a civil suit,
Okay.
but it pertains to your practice area.
Yeah. You know, if I may, there's another issue with AI that's emerging. I was talking to a colleague recently, a former colleague, I should say, because, and she was talking about, like, she does cognitive processing therapy. This is something for PTSD, and it's a lot of kind of reviewing and going over the traumatic event and so forth. And then there's some homework where you kind of process what you've done. She says her clients are taking the stuff and plugging it into AI to have AI do the processing and come up with
Oh my.
kind of how they should interpret everything. and they're coming back to therapy, having AI done the homework for them, basically,
Ah,
which is really like,
plagiarism in therapy. Ah,
isn't that interesting? I mean, I don't know what we
Yeah,
can
that's-
do about that as psychologists, but
No.
I don't know how therapeutic that is for people. They're not actually,
Cognitive process.
they're not really processing it,
all the
right?
types of
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah, I found that,
Interesting, that is interesting.
I found it very interesting, and I wouldn't be surprised if other versions of that are going to occur as, you know, you get done with the therapy, then you go back and you plug in AI, what you talked about, or getting, you know, advice or potentially even contrary
Yeah.
recommendations. Based
Your
on,
therapist doesn't really like you. Your therapist is giving you bad advice.
Ah,
Learn that.
time to change there.
yeah, or just like, this is the way I see
Finding
it, you
one.
know, I know your therapist says this, but it seems to me like this is, but even just if it's that, what she was describing, people just taking this work that they're supposed to do and letting AI do the work for them, and then just saying, okay, that's what I'm supposed to take away from this. Letting AI come up with the meaning for these things that have happened to them.
Mhm.
I don't know, doesn't sound too helpful. Kathy?
I'm gonna just add another piece. I'm just worried about the pipeline because I definitely hear my first year students talk about AI is gonna take over this field
Uh-huh.
and there's not gonna be a place for us, and why are we
I hear that a lot too.
training in this? It doesn't seem to have stopped people yet. We're still getting a lot of applications, et cetera, but
Yeah.
I just, like I said, I'm just hearing rumblings and wondering what impact this is gonna have on the people we're training, and how many are gonna still wanna go into this field.
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily the reality, it's people's perception of
Yeah.
that reality.
I mean,
Hard to invest in something if you don't see the
Right.
payoffs coming.
Right, and they see most of us as being old and out of touch, and we don't know anything about it. And so when we try to talk to them about it, they're not really wanting to hear what we have to say.
uh-huh.
Yeah. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there.
Interesting.
That could be really concerning if we start getting like many fewer people.
And that's not just this discipline, right? That's like across so
of
many,
course.
there's been so many, like the documentary that I did not see on purpose, because it's like, I don't think I need to, I can tell you the summary without watching it, which is like the question of, is AI going to take over all of our jobs? Will
Yeah.
And I don't, like, that feels unhealthy in terms of, in the right now,
Yeah.
but it is very interesting.
There's some things that AI is great at, but I'm not as worried, but
But you were
what do I
trying.
care?
I can't imagine my job.
I've done what he does for work is he's a copywriter. He works for a marketing
Oh,
agency in Chicago. And
Uh-huh.
he says he's actually not worried, believe it or not, because he says the quality, frankly, is just, you can tell when it's AI written and people don't want that.
Which is what I have basically come back with to my
Good.
students, that the quality is not going to be good, and they're like, right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Right now.
still, anyway.
Anyway,
Yeah,
It's
there's a
just-
lot of art in, you can always tell them too, there's a lot of art in being a psychologist, and I don't know that AI anywhere near that, so.
I agree.
Yeah.
I guess I am advocating for it staying on, even though Betsy.
Oh, I agree.
here. I think
Well,
we
the
should
other
do it.
Dr. Miller's big on this.
Okay, great.
So I think she's really gonna take up that.
That's her new name now.
Well, I kept trying to come up with ways of distinguishing the two of you, and none of them were good. So I just said, I'm not gonna try. We'll work on that. Okay, thank you. I want to go to the board committee updates, and the first one is the Senate Bill 1547 Rules Advisory Committee. This is the one that I'm actually chairing. And just to kind of orient you to this, we have this group, and Larry is walking us through the document, basically what's it called? The statute, the law, what are the words I want?
Administrative rules.
Thank you. And we're going through and making edits as a group. Understand that ultimately we get to act on these things, and do we have some ability to determine ultimately how we want to do it too, Larry?
Well, so the committee, it's an advisory committee, so it's going to come up with draft rules, a fiscal impact statement, racial equity statement, and the things all that go into a rulemaking. That will be presented before this board. I'm going to draft everything, put it all in a big package with a memo, and you'll see that in September. So the board would vote on that package. It's not bound to accept every recommendation within it. You can still discuss it and, change things it doesn't agree with. There's still, the board is the ultimate deciding.
Yeah. So this group, and I think Todd sits in on that, Larry sits in on that. They may think that they're ultimately making decisions, and I think they're doing a lot of the hard work. We are, I will say, but I think that there's things that if we look at a little piece and go, I don't know if that's quite the way we want to do it. I think we may have that latitude. And Todd and Larry, if you want to chime in, we've met for 6 hours now over 3 different days. And I would say they're doing a pretty good job of working their way through. Things that they're working out include what are the training requirements, like what courses, like what kind of supervision is involved, how many hours of clinical experience. And that was a big debate, actually. And there's a couple forces at work here that I'm trying to help people understand. One is, like, we have to think about the training programs. What's reasonable for them to be able to provide? We're talking about undergraduates, and do we really expect, for example, to be able to provide the same frequency and intensity of supervision and clinical experiences that we have with graduate students? And I say no, but they also want to add some rigor to make sure that that's happening. So that's one of the debates. Another one that we're hearing a lot about is after they've been licensed, what kind of oversight do we want to have as a board? And continuing ed, but also there's talk about who's going to supervise and what are the requirements for the supervisors who are going to supervise these people. What do we expect from them? So there's been a lot of debate on that because there's different disciplines who could be potentially supervising these folks. We just got to the fees, and it was a little bit of a wake-up call for people to realize that the cost of them getting a license as it's currently structured would be pretty much the same as it is for a psychologist, right? But it's a psychology board, and we're, for lack of a better term, and Marie can correct me here, we're kind of an expensive board just because of the way that we're built. And that's an issue for people and some concerns. And anyway, so there's a lot of going back and forth with this group, but I think they're doing a pretty good job of trying to hear all the opinions. Anything, Todd and Marie, you guys want to add to what we've been doing in that meeting?
I mean, I think there's some things where it's pretty easy. Like our approach has been like, I'm sort of drafting stuff and then they're going through line by line and reviewing a lot of it. A lot of it's just pretty standard stuff from the regulatory perspective, but where we're really, I think, getting some good debate and just, clarifications on is the academic side of things, the practice side of things. So that's where it's helpful for me. There's been a lot of, weighing and balancing of like administrative burden versus having a strong regulatory structure. Those things can sometimes kind of look like they're not meshing well together. Dave mentioned the higher cost. This is a more expensive board to operate, and it can't pass along a cost from one profession onto another. So that's a challenge. The amount of oversight, I think, is been a question, and so Nevada is an agency or a state board that has a parallel license. It's almost the same. They're working on their rules too right now. So the standards for education, we want to make sure we're kind of struggling between having, strong, good standards for Oregon and keeping that independence, yet making sure that we have interjurisdictional mobility. So if somebody gets educated there, that they can then become licensed in Oregon without us having to say, oh, there's this provision in your education that doesn't line up, even though it was okay in the other state, you have no chance of being licensed in Oregon. So things like that have been what we've been mainly discussing. So we haven't quite gotten to the CE, but we've talked about the supervision piece, the education piece. So yeah, I think it's going well. It's good to hear all the variety of opinions. I think we have a really good diversity of people from the profession, people from education. The associations have representation. We have someone there from NAMI, so I think it's a good group.
And I think sometimes we get to the end of these meetings and we can't really come to an agreement on a particular topic. I kind of feel like I know where the group feels like they're going. And then when we come back the next meeting, we all kind of go, okay, that's fine, you know? And so I think there's a lot of energy in the moment, but I think everyone kind of realizes what really practically needs to happen. And we kind of were able to get there fairly quickly the next meeting.
At the highest level, it's just that push-pull between higher and lower levels of regulation. The most stringent and the most costly level of regulation is regulation by a full board. And the other end of the spectrum is just voluntary registration on something. And so it was what was presented to the legislature, and the legislature voted on and said they want this profession to be licensed by a board. They also testified to the legislature it would be no cost, so we got no additional money. Yeah, so we got no additional money, no additional budget. That's why we're really trying to be as efficient as we can in getting this implemented. But the reality of it is there is a cost. Maybe we can kind of float some of the initial implementation, but heading down the road, there's still some significant review of applications just to get this, and that's just a math equation. Staff time times number or times staff salary. It comes out there's cost to regulating that.
Yeah, so that's all being worked out. And we have our next meeting at the end of July. Then we have another meeting scheduled, I think in August. I think those are our last two scheduled meetings. And I'm
July
hoping
27th and August 17th are the last two. And I feel like we have a lot to jam into those two. So we're going to try our best, and yeah.
Yeah, I thought we had plenty of time, but we kind of just get sidetracked on things, and it just, we kind of swirl around, and so.
So when are these due by?
Well, this has to be in effect January 1st.
Okay.
And so we need to be, as a board, able to review it and approve it, and to give us time to do whatever needs to be done to get that out there. Does it have to go to public?
So
review?
from the last RAC meeting is October 17th. That gives me like
August 17th?
just like about less than 2 weeks to get the board packet day is August 28th for the September meeting. So
Okay.
I've got to get everything pulled together and ready to present to the full board. And then once the full board votes on it to approve it, to issue a notice of proposed rulemaking, then I will file that with the Secretary of State Archives Division. It'll go out for public comment, just the usual rulemaking process.
But we need all that runway to get it all done before January.
It's a tight timeline, and it's a lot. We are trying to give the RAC a lot of time to chew on all the minutiae. I feel like that's important, but then the board only gets 2 meetings, notice, voting on the final order. Like there's not, like, unless we try to pull together special meetings or do something unusual there, it's a tight timeline because it becomes effective January 1st. And so technically we should be, accepting applications on that day.
And we can't discuss anything via email, right? We have to wait until public session to be able to talk about as board members.
But you could schedule a special meeting in public session where this is the only agenda item. And it could be an evening, Zoom only kind of after work.
And what's quorum?
5.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid that, like making extra work for folks, but this is a lot that was put on us to do in a short time. And we still have to do forms. We still have to implement this into our licensing system, which is a challenge in and of itself, all the things that go into this, so.
Well, I also want to be respectful of all your effort, Larry, because I feel like then if we don't do an extra one, it ends up being kind of like a rushed public session, general public session, and then your timeline is shorter.
Yeah.
We're trying to manage workload in other areas to accommodate this. So I don't anticipate bringing a whole lot of other things to you in September. So hopefully we can have a good chunk of time to talk about this. We can play it by ear. If we need to schedule a special meeting, we can talk about doing like a Survey Monkey to see what people's availability is and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, but hopefully we can, we budget a lot of time for this public session. We often don't use it all, but we might need to use it all. One other thing I forgot to mention that is to be determined, the group feels like, and the way that the rules are gonna be written, is that there is an exam that people need to pass to get licensed, just like an EPPP or whatever else. And we don't have that exam yet, but it's getting developed. Balmer's working on that. There's an agency or an organization that actually creates exams, and they're gonna do that. So we don't even know what it's gonna be called. We don't have that yet, but that is something that we need to have in place.
Is it
So no-
APPB?
Nevada doesn't have.
I'm not sure where that's at.
Larry,
But it
yeah.
sounds like, looks like we're trying to do our own, or Balmer's working on that.
Okay.
Kate McLaughlin was.
I mean, hopefully something could develop into a national kind of standard exam as more states start to adopt a similar license. That would be ideal. But everything has to start small because it's just a couple states doing this so far.
Yes.
Balmer and U of O is gonna have more access to the resources to do psychometric evaluations, things like that. So I think it's in good hands, but it's only gonna be a good starting point. And I agree, Larry, move to some type of national level will solidify that.
Yeah. Great.
On the note of the fees and the costs associated, with the presentation at the next meeting, will there be sort of a breakdown, even just a rough breakdown of like budget, and how the math is working out in terms of figuring out like how much is this going to cost to the board to expand, to include them? Did that make sense? I'm concerned about I mean, if they're expected to pay $700 to get licensed as a 22-year-old straight out of college, we're going to have a really hard time having people in those positions, but
Yeah.
understanding kind of what the breakdown is and the cost to the board to absorb that would help me in appreciating more of those
So
factors.
the two parts of that are, one, in looking at the cost and the cost to the specific process of this license type. Larry has broken out the math. We talked to licensing staff, tried to get a good estimate of when you did this, how much time do you normally spend? How much time do you think it would? So that was just a math equation to come to the cost. As far as budget, unless we add staff, you wouldn't need more budget because we can only spend what we have within there. So then that leads to the question, projecting forward in that crystal ball. And then we are adding staff in the next session, ideally. And then over the course of time, if those fees bring in enough revenue and we become and we continue to become more efficient and we're collecting more than we need generally to run that, then that's where you'll end up with fee reductions. The challenge is right now, based on what we currently know, we can't project forward to guess at what a reduced fee might be if everything works out the way we.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think budget was probably not the right word. I guess I would be curious to know kind of what the factors were that were plugged into the little equation. I guess when the time comes, not today, but as we're discussing kind of the full package.
But one of the biggest differences is coursework review. Since there
I was
is
gonna
no
say that.
accredited, since there is no accredited degree, like for this board, APA requires APA. We don't do coursework review because it comes across as an APA degree. The other board sometimes do incur higher costs because we do coursework review. This one, there is no accredited degree, so every application is going to have coursework review.
Okay.
One of the things we didn't really anticipate but was brought up is, given this is a bachelor's level versus master's in the other board and then doctorate level here, we really don't know what the application's character and fitness type issues, what the impact is going to be there. If we're going to spend more time with the after action after the criminal background check comes through. So there's some things in there we're kind of assuming it won't be a big difference, but we'll just have to respond to it kind of on the fly as we start seeing the actual experience.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we will get back to this in September. Next board, Consumer Protection Committee. So Olivia and I have been doing that, and we do need at least one of our public members to be part of that group. I don't know if that's something you want to circle back with Todd or let us know.
We
Yeah.
could explain a little bit about what we do too,
Yeah.
so you know what
Sure.
you're volunteering for.
The Consumer Protection Committee, this is not an exact representation, but we're almost like a grand jury who are gonna look at some cases that are gonna come to this board, ones that we think we might be able to solve before they get to the big board. And so like today, there was one case that we had said, you know what, we can probably dismiss this. And you take our word to court, basically, you look at it, but you will agree with our recommendation to dismiss. And so we will look at some cases pre-board meeting and determine whether we feel like the bigger board needs to look at it, or we can look at it and say, I think we know what we want to do on this one. So is that accurate? I think that's what we do.
Mhm.
So that's what the Consumer Protection Committee, it's almost like a little bit of a early look at some cases that we can dismiss quicker.
How long is?
We meet every other month and our meetings are not long.
The last one was 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And I probably logged in late because I'm generally late.
But, and we budget a full hour and I think we've gone a full hour in a long time.
No. No.
Yeah, so Daniel and Teresa, each one of you, independently, let me know if you're interested. At the same time, since you did get to then experience an executive session, I'd be interested in some feedback from the training the other night.
Okay.
Are there things I missed? Are there things where you might say, well, Rachel was much more eloquent? But yeah, so at the same time, let me know if you got feedback there.
Yeah, sure, thanks.
And I'll also add that we have another committee, which is the Education, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee. And we don't have a public member on that, and it would be, I would assume, nice to have that. Kathy, you might be able to speak to that group.
I just wanted to clarify first. So I was not here at the last meeting. So did we discuss who's taking Betsy's place or no? That did not.
We did
come up.
not.
Okay. So yes, we definitely need another member. I don't know if there's anything in our charter or anything like that that it has to be a public member, but I do believe that we need 3 members. I think we work better that way. Right now it's me and Renee on it. I know you've attended some, but you haven't been on it yet.
No.
Well, we do a large variety of things. There was a report written several years ago, again, I'm terrible with time, that focused on DEI kinds of work that needed to be done. And so we've been chipping away at that report, trying to make sure that we're making a website accessible, that we're being fair in all our forms, that we're not unduly affecting certain people, certain groups of people. That's all the DEI stuff. And then we're also working on the licensing exam, the Oregon specific jurisprudence exam, and making sure that that is up to date and fair and accurate and all of that other good stuff. So there's a lot of different things we end up talking about. Renee, I'm sure I missed some things. Do you have other things you want to say about what we do?
I think that's a good summary.
And I believe Dr. Miller, the more recent Dr. Miller, had expressed in not so many words, but an interest in this subject as well. So
Yeah, I think she had interest in consumer protection.
I'd be sensitive to making sure we give her an opportunity to.
Yeah.
So the CPC has a requirement for 1 public member. The education DEI does not. It's typically just psychologists. Not to say a public member can't be on it, but it's typically psychologists that have like experience in the educational realm.
I had not initially officially joined because you already had enough people. I do want to be mindful of on-boarder people, and if they have a strong preference, then I would not. But if there wasn't a strong preference, I'd be happy to. I have a lot of experience.
That would be great.
And we've enjoyed having you come, so I would
But, and can you
to have
remind me what the it's every other month?
It's every month.
You're
on
teaching me, not reminding me.
On a Friday at 10 o'clock. Isn't it every month? Yeah,
Yes.
it's every month.
Third Friday.
Third Friday. So I have a first Friday thing, a second Friday thing, but I don't have a third Friday.
And it's on Zoom.
But I will be happy to truly happy to defer to other people with like vetted interest in EDI who want to be on this, but let me know if you need me.
Okay,
Thank you.
love to have you.
Okay.
Okay.
Great, well, thank you. So that's a little bit about our boards and our committees that work with the book, so. We typically have an update from the Oregon Psychological Association right now. We do not have the representative with us today. That is, what's her name?
Irene?
Irena
Irina
Gelman.
Gelman.
I remember Gelman.
Yeah.
She's great, but she wasn't able to join us today.
Yeah, I believe she had a training.
Okay, we've got, the last thing on our agenda today is statistics. And just for your awareness, as of June 23rd, we had 170 licensing applications received, and you can see the breakdown on that. And then consumer protection, this has a listing of the complaints that have been filed and our current open cases, etc. This is for your awareness. Any other items? We are at the end of our agenda for today. No? If not, folks, I think we are going to wrap our meeting for today. So the meeting of the Board of Psychology is adjourned at 2:10 p.m. Thank you all for joining us.